Awesome. All right. There we go. All right. Welcome everyone to Cloudy County. This is our land grant themed community, our extension themed community, where yeah, we try to keep you up to date about everything that's changing. And it's changing a lot. Everything's changing. If anything's the same, it's that nothing's the same. And so our objective of this community is to teach you about these tools that are part of Microsoft 365 and show you some cool stuff. So show you some cool tricks. For those of you who are new here, appreciate you joining. We've got a brand new 2024 series of meetings that we've created. Doing things a little bit differently this year, still trying to figure out some quirks, but so far so good. Um, Tell your friends this is obviously free to join community. We meet on the second Tuesday of the month, or second Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. and talk about cloudy stuff. And hopefully you can integrate this into your extension programming, your land grant research, those types of things.
2
My
p.m.
buddy Joe.
Eastern for our
Oh
2 p.m. Eastern
yeah,
for
yeah.
we got people all over.
That's true. We're from Florida. We run on what I like to say is Florida man time, which would also be known as Eastern. So I'm a Florida man. Joe may not own that.
Been
But
in Gainesville way a significant number of years now. So yes.
okay, he is a Florida man. We've adopted him. But this month's topic's pretty cool. And before we get into that, Joe, Microsoft MVP, systems admin at UF,
Yep.
big time supporting land grant. We've both been doing that for a long time. I'm a cloud solution architect is my job title at Microsoft, and working on Teams and Copilot are my two main topics now. And that's actually going to lead us into today's topic. We're going to talk about some AI. We were chatting about it before the call. We are seeing fatigue. AI's in the headlines a lot. Every article you see on social media now, maybe even was probably written by AI. Who knows? So it is pretty much prolific. And I 100% with every part of me do not think that this is a fad. And I may have said this on the last call that we talked about AI. The reason why I know it's not a fad is because every company out there is using the word AI. I mean, there's probably lawnmowers that are using AI in some sort of marketing, right? And it is every company out there is developing and integrating and pulling AI into their tooling. You can't even read Amazon reviews now without seeing an AI generated summary of all of the Amazon reviews for the thing that you're looking at buying. So the fact that every company out there is talking about doing it tells me this is not a fad. This is around to stay, and this is the fastest growing tech pretty much ever. The number of people that weren't using AI, and then 3 months later, the number of people who were using AI was in the hundreds of millions. Like it's bonkers. The growth that this type of technology has seen. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we do that, our typical theme for these meetings is Joe covers some news, some what's new, we like to call it, things that are changing, things we want you to be aware of as new features come out, new capabilities come out. So he's going to cover some of those. Then we're going to do a little bit of a recap of the product previously known as Bing Chat Enterprise. And then we're going to jump into a demo of the big dog, the Microsoft 365 Copilot product, which is power. So, Joe, you want to kick us off with some news?
Yeah, sure thing. One thing I want to say real quick is you were talking about AI and its explosion, but with us in land grant extension, I've been hearing about AI in other ways for quite a while, which is that out in the field, like precision agriculture, machine learning, that kind of AI. I'm a system admin. I get to see some of that work sometimes. I'm excited about this AI we're talking about. It's something I have easier access to and can use it more often. But I know we've got extension agents who have been doing different type of AI for quite a while. So having this move into a different part of our work stream is something that I think just, again, this is like our second session on covering something related to Copilot and AI, and it's just really important. So I want to get that out there where I see this in our future. Something that's new. We like to talk about using some of the Microsoft tools to collect data, and one of them, our favorite ones, is Microsoft Forms. And there's an enhancement that has come out that it's kind of hidden previously. We've been able to do something similar like this previously with Microsoft Forms. You could go into your OneDrive and you can go add a new document of some sort, and you could grab this item here called Forms for Excel. And this process basically, you create a file and it opens up Microsoft Forms and your data is synchronized to that file. How I don't know if everybody on this call knew you could do that, but that process basically makes a file that's constantly synchronizing to your OneDrive or to Teams and a SharePoint site somewhere of people filling out a form. And you don't have to download the file. Forget to do that, something that's coming, something that is, oh, let's sign back in, coming to Forms is the ability to do that kind of after the fact. I've just got a form that I've started here, picked some generic template they gave us. I've got one response in here. I've gone into the responses, and now I've got this option here to open results in Excel. But previously, you could only download. See here, download a copy. That's all we had previously. So if you created this file, set up a form, and you wanted to share that information, and you did it this way, a lot like a lot of other of the competitors, you would have to download that copy, put it somewhere, get it to people. Well, if you do open results in Excel, this is going to make a copy in your OneDrive. Once it's in your OneDrive, take the beauty of sharing and share that file with someone. It's always live. It's accessible there. So if I were to come into this form, let's go back and I'm going to hit preview. Let's just fill this thing out. Submit that form. Got a form that's submitted. I can go back. I can see that I've got two responses over here now. And if we go into this Excel file that's sitting in my OneDrive, now that file has got that information instantly updated. So it's one more way to kind of make sure you have easy access to that content. This is rolling out. I'm seeing it in preview in a couple of tenants I have access to. So just one more thing to, again, collect some data. And maybe down the road, you might end up with Copilot in there. And ask it questions. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. This is big because I feel like beforehand, if you didn't know that trick, right? It was kind of a oops, right? Like I can't go back and resynchronize this or move this around. And so now having the ability to not have to do it this way that Joe's showing right now. So Joe did it in reverse. He's creating the Excel file first and then connecting it to a form. And that is cool because that allows you to dictate where that output file lives. And like you said, that's a live file. It's constantly being fed information as people. We've done that on this call. We've had you fill out stuff on a live call and watched it populate in the Excel file as you're filling the form out. And that's not really new. That's not really a cool trick anymore. People expect that to work. But what was kind of frustrating was if you had a nice form and you wanted to move it or convert it to that, now with this synced with forms option, you can do that, which I think is really, really nice to move things around and resync stuff. So I see Joe's got a little Copilot running there in the side of Excel. Look at you, Joe.
Little taste.
Teaser. Okay. Anything else that's new? Or is that it?
That's the only one that really wanted to cover that I've seen that's kind of rolling out right now.
Okay. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of a recap. I'm going to share my screen, but really the only reason I'm sharing my screen is because I want to pull up a picture and I want the picture to be on the recording. So understanding your AI options in M365. So we have a few different things that are named Copilot. and previously called Bing Chat. So the first column there is just called Copilot. That would have been Bing Chat. This is what my son uses, what my family uses, what anybody in the world can use. You go to bing.com, you see a chat button, you can chat. That is generative AI. That would be using OpenAI's GPT, large language model, that provides people some pretty cool stuff. Joe, I'm going to call you out. Joe and I went on an adventure together, and we went on a hike, and it wasn't a big hike. It was like six miles or something, and we went to a lake thing and went camping. But before we went, Joe told me while we were walking, he's like, "Yeah, I asked AI to write me a list of all the things that I should pack." How did that go, Joe?
Oh, it was great. It was there was probably like 20 bullet points of things to remember to take on a hike. I told it the amount of time I was going to be gone for. I told it a little bit about my health, the distance we were going, things like that. And it gave me a great list. But you really should always check your sources. Something we'll say is because one thing it was telling me was I think it expected I was going on a hike like straight up a mountain because the amount of water to pack was pretty high.
Yeah, Joe came Joe
So
came on the trip with about 35 pounds of water, I think, in his
I didn't take
pack.
as much water as it told me to take. But without having water source where we're going to be overnight, I took a little bit extra probably than I needed to. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little off on the amount of water. I think it was like it wanted like 2 liters per hour of hiking or something like that. And we're in Florida. It's flat. It's not middle of August, so
Yeah.
not that much water. So yeah, again, check your
Now,
sources. But
but
that's what's great about Copilot is it gives you you'll see is it gives you where it arrives at some of
mhm,
these
yeah.
the information it gives you.
And that is that's on the slide I can pull up here in a second. Um, that is free, right? That's available to everybody, regardless of if you have what we would call a work or school account. That's public, that's consumer, right? Now the next column over, the one here in the middle, Copilot with commercial data protection. This is the thing we talked about a couple months ago, which was previously called Bing Chat Enterprise. Now, Bing Chat Enterprise includes two more of those checkboxes that are really, really, really important. The first one, where it says personal, if we're being honest, how do you think a large, like, take what I'm about to say very literally, a large language model, how do you think all the language got into the model? Right? How do you think it was trained? From people using it and data out there in the world, right? So when you are using this in a professional circumstance, right? Maybe research application, those types of things, you might say, I don't want my stuff that I'm asking AI to do to train AI to do that stuff. Those are some of the protections that come along with Copilot with commercial data protection is the things that you ask it aren't being used to train the model. The things that you ask it are deleted when you're done. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and find that slide deck and I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to make everybody look at it again because we did cover this. But I feel like it's worth recapping because this is a big deal. So give me 1 second. Copilot adoption kit present. I'm gonna do it in PowerPoint Live. There's no better way to present than Power. Oh, right as I say that, it says it can't display the content. What is going on? Probably because I'm running multiple accounts and teams, if I had to guess. All right, we're gonna go to backup method. I'm going to just share the window. It's all right. Pivot. Okay. So why Copilot? Joe talked about the two that are the one of them that's in the middle, transparent about sources. He said AI told him to take 27 liters of water, and then it probably gave him a website that said, this is the calculator the source that we use that says this is the recommendation. And that's really important because when you ask AI to do something, you need to know, like, you can't let it write your homework for you. Like you need to be well versed in what it's giving you and understand the output. Uh, an example of that would be coding. Joe and I write code for nerd stuff. If I just ask it to write code and I copy and paste that code and run it on a server and the server implodes, whose fault is that? It's me. It's my fault. I should have known what the code was going to do. I should have looked at the code and understood it before I ran it. Same thing with anything that AI generates. You need to know what you're looking at and understand it. The objective of AI is not to replace you. The objective of AI is to augment you, to supplement you, to speed up the process of like boring stuff. Um, so citing its sources is really helpful for you to go and verify the output. Uh, no knowledge cutoff. So Copilot on the web is going to use Bing search index. It is going to give you, like you could go to it and ask it, what was the score of Super Bowl, right? And that just happened a couple days ago. It's going to give you the score because it has access to more than just the data that's in that large language model. You think about that large language model as a database of information. It has a cutoff. It has up to a certain date until they update the model again. You can go ask Chat GPT. Go ask it. What was the score of the Super Bowl, and see what it says. and and it probably won't be able to tell you because it wasn't in the large language model. So that's nice. And then that commercial data protection that we talked about. We are not going to save your prompts. We are not going to use your prompts to train the model. So those are very important details. Now, back to my picture. Okay. A few things that it can't do. Copilot with commercial data protection. It can't talk to your OneDrive. It can't look at your calendar. It can't read your email. It can't generate content for you directly inside of Office. It can't generate pivot charts in Excel or build an Excel or build a PowerPoint presentation for you. That is the third and the grand finale of Copilot capabilities in M365 is what we call Copilot for Microsoft 365. This is an add-on, paid license. Joe said earlier, one of the biggest reasons why we're having this conversation right now is because earlier in January, it was announced that the limit for buying Copilot was being removed. And by that, I mean when it was first rolling out and what I think most would consider like a soft launch, when organizations were looking at purchasing Copilot for Microsoft 365, they had to buy a minimum of 300 licenses. That is no more. You can buy one license. You can buy 1,000. You can buy 10. You can buy as many or as little as you need. And so because of that barrier to entry being removed, we felt like now's a really good time that we should talk about this because it's allowing more organizations to just pick and choose what they need. I have no idea how your organization handles charging. Joe, you got any comments on that?
I think most of our orgs put things through risk assessments and things like that. So this is something that probably is going to potentially go through your normal processes like that at your university. Um, one caveat I've seen is, and this may change depend upon your agreements you have, but the $30 a month seems to be getting charged like for a full year. So that's the only thing around charging that I've seen is that it's kind of a $30, but you're making a 1 year outlay for that. So
Yeah,
something to think
and
about.
we've had some feedback, you and I, from other extension folks who have said things like, It's actually easier to ask for $360 for a 1 year subscription to something, rather than asking for $30 a month. And that's how the licensing works anyway. Like Joe's saying, when you buy this, you can't buy it for 2 months and then get rid of it. You have to commit to a year of using it or to a year of owning it. The other thing is it's $1 a day, as I've seen people talk about it like that. And I'm hoping that once we get through this, you'll see like this is the equivalent of a super powerful personal assistant that never gets tired and never complains. So um, pretty valuable when you think about it like that. Now we did talk about prompting a little bit in the last series, and we're going to talk about it again because this is important. The way that you converse with AI tools, and it doesn't matter if it's Copilot, it's any AI tool. Uh, there's an art to it. There was an art to how to find things on a search engine, right? And we've said this before, like IT nerds, a lot of the really successful IT nerds are successful because they can find answers. And if you can't find answers and you're not well versed in search engines and blogs and how to manipulate search results and zero in on what you want, it made it really hard to find answers. Now, really cool thing about Copilot now is instead of a search engine that's taking you to websites that have answers, you ask it, if you formulate your question correctly, it's just going to give you the answer. You don't have to go click on another website to find the answer buried in a blog somewhere. So that's really powerful. But it all starts with prompt engineering. So Joe's got some content to share around prompt engineering, maybe some ideas to get you going on how you actually talk to AI.
This is a document that will get you a link to, and you can have a copy of this too. But this maybe if you've been following AI for a little bit, you might be hearing something around prompt engineering. This is talking about the art and science of prompt engineering. And I think once read this document here, we're going to go through, it breaks it down in just a few little pieces. And um, it becomes really clear, I think, how to help get right information out of Copilot and these engines. The prompt is to start off here right now is just what are you asking for? And we're using sort of these action words. We want to transform. We want to summarize, create something we're asking it for. That's pretty obvious. We got to have some chat conversation going on. But there's some pieces to improve the quality of your responses. And I would say when you're looking at really diving deep into some type of subject matter, or you're asking for um, something that might produce a lot of text, um, and we'll just kind of go through what those are. There's a few, they're calling them ingredients here. Just four here right now. We've got a goal, generate 3 to 5 bullet points. This also you might call as the output. What do you want the output to look like? Do you want a paragraph? Do you want a table? Do you want a chart? Do you want an image? These Copilot systems can produce images for us. So what do you want as that output, that context? This example, preparing for a meeting, it's really, it's not just saying, prepare me for a meeting. That's not going to be helpful. You're asking for it in a detailed manner. In this case, again, you're going to get better information back. The source, if you have a source for this, is there a specific document you want to look at? Is there a specific web page you want to get a response from? You can do that with these tools. And then some expectations around it. In this case, I want something simple. I want to read this quickly. I want a short paragraph, something like that is something that we can talk about. And that's the art and science behind it. There's 4 things there. I'm going to add another one in there. It's called persona, and that is taking on the aspect, asking Copilot to take on the aspect of basically a persona. And I'm just going to give you an example, and you can kind of see how this can set responses and set tone. So, persona, in this case, I'm going to set up, I'm asking Copilot to pretend it's a well established cooperative extension agent that knows 4-H. And its first response to me is it's given me some information and takes on that persona. And it gives me some information that says it kind of understands what 4-H is. And this might be nice for some people on the call, perhaps. It gives me the sources where they're coming from. Good schools there. Now, I gave it a persona. I'm going to ask it a question. Why is it important, helpful to engage children in the world of agriculture and farming? And through the eyes, what I'm asking it for of a 4-H agent, it's going to give me some responses here. Now let's do the same thing. But I'm going to say I'm a high-end securities trader who believes in money, money, money. That's what's important to me. Interesting, it doesn't give me a source for this, so somehow it really just completely fully understands in its large language model um, what it is to be a high stakes a trader, warrior of Wall Street. And let's look at its responses to the same question. Um, let's compare these a little bit. We've got understanding food sources. Look at the tone on this one. Um, it helps children understand that food doesn't appear on store shelves. It doesn't. Food just doesn't. Money doesn't grow on trees unless you're a high stakes trader. But money just doesn't grow. Food doesn't just grow on store shelves. We have an similar understanding food sources. Its tone is a little different. That's probably a little more pleasant. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but there's little changes here. For the trader we're looking at, there's economic understanding is one of the key things here, and it thinks about agriculture around economy, trade, global markets, um, and here we get career opportunities when we're talking about as a 4-H agent. Just that's where that persona setting up a conversation can help you get some better responses, set that tone. So that's really, really want to cover there to understand that. I like a lot of things Dwayne was talking about coding. I start off and say, you're an amazing PowerShell coder. That's some code you write. You write perfect, complete scripts with great comments. And I kind of start things off that way. And what I've seen is if you've got some consistent personas that you'd like to interact with, is save those in a text file somewhere and just start your conversations with those is a great way to just kick it off. So it's in that same pattern all the time. Questions on
Uh,
that? Yep. Okay.
Persona is a really interesting trick because when we move over into M365 Copilot, you could do some pretty cool things with maybe a document that you have. I don't know, a packet of some sort that you might be building for your for your career, and you could assign a persona to Copilot and have it ask you questions about it. An example I've seen that I thought was really interesting was a cybersecurity policy. Like maybe we're building out a new policy and we're about to propose this policy to our chief information security officer. Well, one of the things that we can use Copilot for that's kind of intriguing is before we even jump into the meeting with the chief information security officer, is we can go into that Word document, tell Copilot, act as if you are a chief information security officer, review this document and provide any questions, that this document may, cause. right? That was a really crappy way of saying it, but you get the idea. And so now we're not just saying like, ask me questions about this document. Like if my mom read it, her questions would be entirely different than if a chief information security officer read it. So giving out that persona sets the kind of expectation of what you're looking for. And hey, guess now what you've done is you've generated questions that an information security officer may have asked you, maybe you hadn't even considered. And then you go back and you look at your document, you refine, you tweak a little bit, you've anticipated before you even got into the room. Now, obviously, everybody's personality is different. Your CISO might be, have different, whatever. But you get the idea of being able to use this for prepping for a meeting. Pretty powerful stuff, right? Okay. I am Joe, are you good?
Yeah, we're good on that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little question in there around setting up a persona or kind of asking like a long question. Um, you could put your persona in your initial question. You don't need to have it separate. Um, if kind of that's the question, it doesn't need to go first and then start asking your questions. You can set up that persona if you want in the same chat that you send, the same topic that you start. That's not a problem. Um, I've seen, maybe there's um, ways that you want your output most of the time. You want um, unique responses, no repetition. You want to make sure that there's always focus on key points, little things like that. If there's complex problem, break it down into manageable steps. Those kind of um, ways to set up this persona, this topic. Those are things you might consistently use. Again, keep those saved somewhere and just start off your chats with that.
Okay. I think the persona trick is really a really powerful one. Everybody should remember. And yeah, and that persona sticks to the whole session, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've now given it a personality. All right. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to cross our fingers, say a little prayer, because live demonstrations of AI, who knows what you're going to get. So, and who knows if I'll be editing this video before it goes to YouTube. All right. I'm running in a demo environment. Hopefully that's coming across pretty clear. Joe, can you
Yep.
confirm? Okay.
Yep.
So the first thing is that I'm going to show you that I think is kind of a magic trick is once you have a Copilot license in your tenant, it takes a little bit of time. It can take, I don't know, we'll say 3 to 5 days for Copilot to like work its way through the whole system and become available in all the different places you could experience it. So right now, those experiences would be things like Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Teams, Loop, stuff like that. The web apps, which I'm going to be using the web apps in this case, are one of the ways you could use it. It also does work in the desktop apps. There are some for the nerds on the call, current channel, monthly enterprise channel. Those are where you need to be for Copilot to show up in your applications on your computer. No Office 2016. I mean, come on, let's be real. No Office 2019. It needs to be Office 365, now known as Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise. But those are the latest and greatest Office applications that are going to get Copilot. Teams, of course, is going to work. Don't even ask about does it work in old Teams because by the end of March there will be no old Teams. There will only be new Teams. We'll be back to one Teams. So just yes, the answer is new Teams for any of that kind of stuff. There are 3 functions right now in Outlook that Copilot can do. The first one that everyone's probably really going to appreciate, and the most widely used function of Copilot, I believe, overall, is a function called Summarize. You get stuff sent to you, right? I have this email. I'm looking at this. What would you normally do when you see this? You just got pulled into this conversation. you would scroll to the bottom and you'd start reading, and you'd scroll up and you'd read. Instead, what I can do is I can click summarize, summarize this, and it is going to scan that entire email thread. And then it's going to give me an AI generated summary of everything that was said in that email thread, so that I don't have to go back and read the whole thing. At least I sure hope it does. There it goes. So Nestor initiated a discussion to talk about a marketing campaign. Lee suggested partnering with some people. Grady wanted to do this, Adele wanted to do that, Megan wanted to do that. That's the whole summary of the entire email chain. I don't need to go read every single thing in this to get an idea of why I was pulled in. I was pulled in because they need my opinion on something. So how many of you have been forwarded an email chain? Happens in IT to IT people all the time. People have been having a discussion about a problem. 27 emails later, they decide to pull in the IT guy, or gal. They pull you in and you have to now catch up. So summarizing is shaving minutes, many minutes off of the amount of time it took to comprehend and understand what's going on in this email chain.
Yeah, I'd say for some of the emails I get, Dwayne, that there's 20 threads on there for $1 a day. It would save a lot of headache of figuring out what's important and how can I quickly figure out what's going on and where I can help.
Yeah. The next thing that's available in Outlook is going to be, so I'm going to hit reply. I've got a little Copilot button up here that I can look at. I have draft and I have coach. Draft is going to be a prompt that's in the body of the email, and I can give it a prompt and I can click generate and it will write my email for me. So that's pretty nice. And I think this is kind of funny because if you saw my prompt real quick, I just said acknowledge the emails, support this thing. I can't respond with that because humans are expecting more fluff. We want more stuff. We want it to be wordier, make it sound like we did a lot. And so that's what this is going to do. It's not going to respond like a robot. It's going to respond like a person, even though I fed it a prompt like a robot. So I can look at this and I can say, yeah, I appreciate your enthusiasm. I can assign a tone to this if I wanted to. I can make it more exciting. I can make it less exciting. I can make it very direct. I can make it a song if I wanted to. And this is another important part of AI is this button right here where it says keep it. This matters big time. Copilot is never going to respond to your email for you. You have to acknowledge what it produced and make the decision to keep it, which means you are always in control. It's not going to send you the response to your boss in a mean tone. You're going to have to write the prompt, look at it and say, you know what? Yep, I'm good with that. I want to keep it and keep it. Now, let's say you already wrote something yourself and you just want a second set of eyes, a second set of artificially intelligent eyes to take a look at what you wrote and let you know if it's something you should tweak. So that's where coaching with Copilot would come in. It's actually going to look at my content and it's going to potentially give me suggestions on what I wrote. Now, I'm not really sure what it's going to do here because the content I'm asking it to review was actually written by Copilot. But if I had written something and maybe my tone was very insensitive, okay, yeah, I could be more enthusiastic. Instead of I appreciate your enthusiasm, I could say I am thrilled by your enthusiasm. That's a little over the top. So you're going to get some coaching points here that are going to not write content for you, but give you suggestions on how you could maybe change the message before you click send and fire it off, right?
I love that, Dwayne, because I'm just picturing replying to emails sometimes in the heat of the moment. And sometimes when I feel like that, sometimes it's good. I like to just vent and go back and think about it, and then I clean it up. I usually remove everybody in the to line and the CC line when I do that. It just helps me get it out of my system and then go back. things get frustrating. That happens. This I love is because I could get that out of my system and say, "Hey, go fix this for me. This is not what I'm gonna send." And I don't know. That could maybe save some people's jobs.
Yeah. So if I were to write that and send that, it's probably going to get me in trouble, right? So yeah, we're gonna go back and do some coaching by Copilot. Oh, it can't coach me. Why not? I made it. I didn't give it enough. There's a character. There's a minimum character limitation. Let me try to be even more mean. I can't uh, believe this. I am going to look for a new team right away. I don't know how many characters I've got here. This may not be enough still. All right, try it again, coach. Yeah, so Joe, your super short angry emails, you need to have longer angry emails. So whatever,
Yeah,
we're
maybe
gonna
not
keep
longer.
moving.
Yeah.
um, like I said, you never know with the demo in AI. The next thing that we can talk about that's pretty amazing is how many of you are in too many meetings?
Raise a
I
hand.
think everybody would probably raise their hand. How many of you have been invited to more than one meeting at the same time, like overlapping, conflicting meetings on your calendar? But you needed to be in both. Like, could you clone yourself? Right? Probably not. If you figure that out, let me know though. So we have some pretty cool capabilities now with meetings that have been transcribed. So when you transcribe a meeting in Teams, it is going to generate spoken word, right? I can go back and I can read and I can see what people said. And I can search the transcript, which is pretty cool. But not, I mean, not unless I know exactly what I'm looking for. So if a meeting is transcribed and I have a Copilot license, I can do some pretty powerful things. Like I'm going to ask it. Well, it summarized the meeting for me. If you saw that, oh, this is the demo environment. I should be clear. So I'm going to say summarize this meeting, include any action items, and who is responsible for that action. So I'm going to ask it to do that for me. And it's going to go through this transcript and it's going to build its summary based on everything that we talked about. And I won't spend a whole lot of time in this, but you can see some of the potential use cases for this, the ability to, I missed a meeting or I joined a meeting late. I do this all the time. I don't want to say I join meetings late all the time, but I use this because if I joined a meeting late, 10 minutes late because another call ran over, when I hop into a meeting, if the meeting's being transcribed, I can hit the Copilot button and say, catch me up. And it's going to let me know what everybody was talking about for the first 10 minutes. And then now I'm caught up. I read it real quick and boom, I can go along with it. If I am watching, I'm attending this meeting, I can ask questions to the transcript about things that were, golly, this thing's taking a minute. Like I said, demos. I can ask it questions about the meeting and I can say, what are some good questions I should ask? There we go. It spit it out. Perfect. Okay, so this meeting was about Project Falcon. This is obviously fictitious. We're building a new e-scooter and we're going to launch it. Here's the main topics that were discussed. Here are some action items and who is responsible for doing them. So this took my meeting minutes for me and spit it out. And one thing that's really powerful is it's actually, remember we said it cites its sources? It is actually giving me the part of the transcript where it pulled and reasoned over it and came to that conclusion. And it will take me to that part of the transcript if I wanted to go and see it. So that is that is sick. That is, I'm not saying you never need to attend a meeting again, but if you missed a meeting, getting caught up on it really quickly is not really hard. And one thing that comes along with the Copilot for Microsoft 365 is called Teams Premium Intelligent Recap, which is what you're seeing on my screen now, where I can see speaker points on the thing here. So let me try this. If I click this, I can see this. I know that it was at 2 minutes and 53 seconds. It was said by Lee. I know everywhere on the timeline that Lee was talking. I can go straight to that part of the meeting and actually hear him say it himself. So that is incredibly powerful. So this is post meeting, recapping the meeting. You can do this live during the meeting. Like I said, if the meeting is being transcribed.
So, yeah, Dwayne. So if you have to join a meeting late, you're halfway through. What you're saying is, you as an attendee jumping in with Copilot, you could ask it to summarize up to that point.
Yeah, you could say, catch me up. And your conversation that you're having with Copilot, even though it looks like a chat window, is private. Nobody else sees you doing this. So nobody's like, oh, he's late and he doesn't know what's going on. You can walk into a meeting 20 minutes late, catch yourself up really quickly, and then look like you are the boss. Like, yeah, I've been here the whole time. What are you talking about? I knew exactly what's going on. And nobody knows that you were talking to Copilot the entire time. So that's super powerful. The next demo, and I'm going to try to run through these pretty quickly, is the ability to use Copilot inside of a document. I'm going to show some basic stuff here. So we have a document. Whoops, I didn't mean to click all that. We have a document here, and this is a inventory of laptops, fictitious laptops. Some of these laptops are pretty expensive, $9,000 high school device. Maybe that's like a server. I don't know. We have some data points here, like the current price, how much did it cost to produce this device, how big is the hard drive, those types of things. So one of the things that I like is data insights. So I can say, and this actually one of the suggested prompts there, I can say show data insights. This is going to go through all of the data that's in this table, and it's going to generate some pivot charts and tables and graphs for me. And then I can insert those into a new sheet on the workbook. So let me say add to new sheet is a button here. So there we go. And so now I'm going to get this. Now this is not a huge data set. If you had a more complex data set, you'd actually get like almost an entire dashboard of data that would come back from this. And so you get all, pie charts, bar graphs, line charts, all kinds of stuff that would all be interactive. So you could build a dashboard in 10 seconds by clicking a button. And I feel like we're not doing this a lot of justice because it's really easy for me to click that button. I want everybody to continue to think about how long would this have taken me if I was doing it myself in Excel, right? Showing data insights is pretty powerful. Now, let's say I wanted to, I want to know how much extra money we're paying for these devices. So I'm going to ask it, add a new column. Calculating the profit margin of each device and add an icon. So cross my fingers. I cannot describe to y'all how, I won't say unstable my lab is, but this is not a true environment, as I'm sure everyone has been able to tell. So we kind of roll with it and we see what happens. So it's giving me the formula that it would use to produce the thing that I asked it for, which is pretty powerful. And I could just say insert the column, and it inserted a column here and is giving me the profit margin now for all of those devices. Now, it didn't actually add the icon that I wanted. Add an icon to the profit margin column. I don't know why I talk to myself when I type, but I do. Let's just see what it says. I was very vague with that. That was a really bad prompt, but I'm kind of curious what it's going to do. I'm really curious what it's going to do. I'm hoping for like a plus or a minus or something like that, because I see some negatives in there. Yeah, so this is what happens when you give it a bad prompt. It has to think about it for a while. So while that's running, and I know we've only got a couple minutes left, I'm going to head over to Microsoft Word, and I'm going to do another demo here. So if I go into Copilot, this is a warranty document. Now, if you were looking at a warranty document and you were asking for information about it, think about how you would have done it now or how you do it now. You're going to do what we would call a keyword search. You're going to control F on your keyboard and you're going to look for a term or some, warranty duration. You're going to try to find a word in the document somewhere. If you actually search for the word warranty, you're going to find, 67 instances of where that word was actually used. That's not very helpful. So what is the duration of the warranty? Again, I don't know why I talk when I type, but I'm asking it to do this now. So this is not me doing a keyword search. This is a semantic search. This is a understanding not only my question, but understanding the context of this document and giving me an output of what I want. So when it finishes that, let's see if I got my icon. No, I did not get my icon, but we're going to keep moving. Okay, so according to the document, the duration of the warranty is 24 months. That's pretty nice. I didn't have to I didn't have to scroll. I didn't have to look at anything. All I had to do was ask it a question. So I could say, is there anything concerning about the coverage of this warranty that I should consider? So this is for student devices, for my student devices. Getting all choked up. Sorry, I know we're pushing you right to the brink of time, but this is pretty special stuff. Um, According to the document, there's a few things to consider. Hopefully, it gives me those few things. Okay, this is interesting. It says the warranty is limited to the software elements of the product, excluding physical components and cosmetic deterioration. Well, that's weird. It's a laptop. Why would the warranty of a laptop only cover the software? That's alarming, right? How many of you read the warranty? How many of you read the end user licensing agreement? So this is kind of nice to have it do this. The last thing that I'm going to try to do, which is really daring, is I'm going to try to actually do content generation. So I'm gonna see what happens here. I'm in Word. Now I'm no longer summarizing a document. I'm creating a document. Write me a how-to guide on a rain barrel workshop. We talked about rain barrels last time. We did it in Bing Chat Enterprise. I'm going to do it right in Word now. And the thing that I won't have time to show you is I can chain documents together. I can reference other documents in other products. So what I can do here is I can create an outline of a activity on how to build a rain barrel. Then I can go over into PowerPoint and I can say, hey, build me a 10 slide presentation based off the content of this other Word document. And it's going to build out a presentation for me and include all of my speaker notes. And I've turned a how-to document into a presentation I'm going to deliver to an audience. So that is pretty sick. And we are at time, over time. Sorry, everyone, that we pushed you this far. But we wanted you to see these tools. I mean, these tools are designed to supercharge your day. We're all limited by the same 24 hours in a day, and we all got too much to do, if we're being real.
I'm gonna hope for 30 seconds from everyone real
Okay.
quick. And
You get 30 seconds, Joe.
I've got a demo, but I don't need a demo.
Gosh.
I got you gonna walk you through it. So what I want you to understand here is a scenario kind of end to end. I've got a document on the screen, and I'm going to ask it to produce an FAQ. So I've gone into Copilot and I've asked it to produce an FAQ for this document. I've taken that FAQ, I put it into a Word file. I've got a Word file now. Now I can go into PowerPoint and I can say, generate a presentation from that FAQ in PowerPoint. And it produced an outline, produced all these slides, put the images on there, took all that information. It's pretty intelligent about how PowerPoint works. Part of the equipment that's required for this SAP testing is garlic and lemon press. Somewhere it found an image of garlic press. So that's really powerful and quick. I did that while Dwayne was in his last
While I'm
presentation
fumbling
there.
around,
So,
Joe's actually getting stuff done, is what he's saying.
so that's some things you can do with Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Yeah, cool. All right, everyone. Well, we are going to turn the recording off. We'll stay on the call for a little bit if you got any questions or want to see anything specific. But thanks everybody for joining us this month. We hope that you found this pretty useful. This is pretty amazing stuff. It's what a time to be alive, right? You know, the fact that we can knock these things out in just a few seconds with tasks that were just really just like, ugh, you know, things we didn't want to do. We can get them done quicker and move on to the things that we want to do, right? So thanks everybody for joining us. And like I said, we'll be on the call for a little bit longer if you have questions.